in my circle? Who the one who be the snakes? Who gon' fold up under pressure? Who gon' understand the stakes? Who gon' wait to get their food to try to take from off my plate? Who the love? Who gon' understand I'm hurt? Who gon' love me unconditionally and try and make it work? Who gon' party once I'm gone and shed a tear once I'm in dirt? I ain't asking for too much, I'm trying to.
Next episode of Give Me My Crown podcast.
Give Me My Crown podcast.
And we back at you, season 3, episode 1. Once again, my name is Antonio.
My name's Keith.
And as y'all see, we got a guest on here today, our good friend Omar. Omar, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't have a shirt on or anything. I didn't even know this was season 3 here. So my name's Omar Clark. Originally from Ringgold, Virginia, right outside Danville, Virginia. Now I'm in the sunny state of Florida. So pretty much I've known these two gentlemen right here. I have the honor to be to talk on this since high school. Yeah.
And I like to say we all more like brothers than we are like friends, So let's dive into we played football together. Dive into once we graduated high school, you went to college. Dive into how life took you after high school.
We definitely played football together. I got to take it back, talk about Springbuck. But anyways, I'm not going to go there. But, we played high school. And then, after high school, I didn't know which way I really wanted to go. But obviously, I went to Liberty University. That's where I did my undergrad in health promotions chair, certified health education specialist. Then after that, I played for the university as well, played sports. Still wasn't sure. Then I pursued a master's at the university while I used to work for the university. And I had a little bit of a health scare. Actually, while I was there, flipped my car down the embankment roughly 6 times. A lady behind us saw us. Actually, was with Larry Claiborne. He was with me on that trip. We were on the way to Richmond, Virginia, and had some headaches, migraines, neurologists, all these different specialists, and that's what kind of led me on the path. I was actually going to go to DO school, but I made a change and went to chiropractic school. My brother, he's a chiropractor. My sister-in-law was a chiropractor. My brother was actually practicing in Italy during that time frame in college when I had that bad crash, and that's when I started seeking some of his advice and different things on those lines. So, and that's what led me to chiropractic school, and kind of fast forward to led me to where I'm at now. And we can dive more into that, but that's kind of a synopsis of everything.
Okay. Now, when you went to Liberty, did you play football all 4 years, or how did that go?
Yeah, no, I didn't play all 4 years. I actually played 3. I kind of gave up the last year. Sometimes now I wish I didn't, but at the same time, I wanted to focus more on school, and I was still dealing with some crazy headaches and migraines from all the concussions and then that crazy car crash. And but I miss it. I still have some great relationships with some buddies. A lot of my buddies now, they either coach in college or some played in the NFL. We're actually still keep in contact as well. Like Rashad Jennings, I don't know if y'all know who he is.
Yeah.
Played with him at Liberty. He was actually, I stayed with him freshman year. And then my wife, she used to tutor him in math. But he helped me out on a lot of different things football-wise. But he went to the Giants and then Dancing with the Stars. Actually, we were all texting not too long ago. And then a couple other friends. Obviously, Larry Claiborne, we played together from Danville as well. But, so I kind of gave it up. I didn't play all 4 years.
Okay.
So how did you go from Liberty to end up in Florida?
In Florida? Okay. Well, when I decided I was going to go to Chiro school, because actually it was established out there in Lynchburg, Virginia, where after the university, I was married in 2011. And then we were kind of debating, we were trying to figure out, okay, should I go to Chiro school? Should I not? And then we were married for a little bit, and that's when we found out we were pregnant. And then I was like, shoot, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I looked at different schools, going through the process, and you had a choice of, snow, somewhat hot, cold weather. Then you had this choice to choose the beaches. So obviously that's what made me choose Florida, and that's what kind of led me down to Florida. We didn't know anyone really. So I went out there roughly about 2 months before my wife followed me. And when she came out, she was 34 weeks pregnant. And we just started life that way. And just that's how it all started.
Okay. Obviously, I guess you're glad you picked Florida because you're still in Florida.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. it's something about that Sunshine State. But no, we love it out here. My little ones love it. I do miss the seasons sometimes, but now I'm the type, I'll go visit. I don't want to be around cold weather. Get in and get out. That's my motto now.
Yeah. So how long? So when you moved, did you once you finished school in Lynchburg, did you start school in Florida? Or did you start chiropractic school first in Lynchburg, then move to Florida?
Okay, so basically, once I was at Liberty, Lynchburg, finished the master's. After the master's, was there for a little bit. Then that's when I left and went straight to chiropractic school. And that was roughly almost 4 years. And then while we were in school, we first quarter, they called the quarter system. So first quarter, I remember doing what was it, biochemistry and pathology, whatever it was. We had our first little one, which is Isabella. And then when I got to national boards halfway through school, that's when we had our second child, which was Gabriel. And then once I graduated and when I decided I wanted to open up my own business, that's when we had our third little one, which is Sophia.
Okay. And so, how was chiropractic school? Was it pretty difficult, or was it or was it? I guess did what you study at Liberty make it easier to do, or was it still kind of difficult?
Well, I would say it definitely kind of prepared me because I had a health background, just going through the
Okay.
health promotion chairs, and I did a master's in health and wellness as well. I had a lot of the different sciences and all those different things. But I mean, was it challenging at times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything at the end of the day can be challenging, but if you put the time in, it's just you
Yeah.
go through the process. I would say during chiropractic school, most challenging part was the national boards. You have multiple national boards you have to take through to get your licensures to be eligible to become licensed. I know some people who still haven't even passed their national boards, and they've graduated,
Wow.
8-9 years ago, and still can't become licensed. So I wouldn't say it was hard. It just depends on how much work and how much time you put into it. And then we found a great group of friends, and we just studied all the way through school as well.
That makes sense.
So being a chiropractor, walk
Yeah.
me through what made you want to start your own practice.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. Well, first off, I kind of rewind. What kind of led me down the chiropractic realm was because of that car crash. And then my brother told me about the doctor. His name was Dr. Ray Drury out in Charlotte, North Carolina. He started educating me on different things. And I just thought, personally, when you hear chiropractic, you think, okay, rack and crack. That's all you really think about, right? But then
Yeah.
once we started diving into the neurology and there's different subspecialties within chiropractic field, I said, oh, wow, this is interesting. So that's what kind of made me go down that route. Just like I focus heavily in the upper cervical region, the neck area. So we deal with a lot of crazy cases. Sometimes people have fusions in the neck. We do pre and post MRI studies or fluid studies as well, cerebral spinal fluid, and just kind of see post and pre and post. So that's what kind of led me down that route. So I kind of focused on that region. And then I was going to originally go practice with my brother and my sister-in-law, but at the same time, sometimes you get involved with family, it can mess things up, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's when I say, you know what, I'm going to open up my own business. And then that's when, while I was in school, I actually brought a club to the chiropractic school. It's called Advanced Mentorship for Entrepreneur Development. So we literally went to all these different businesses, chiropractic businesses, not even just chiropractic, other businesses, started learning different things, learning stuff, what not to do, what to do. I picked my brother's brain. And then that's what kind of led me down the route where, all right, we're going to open up from scratch. And I kind of mapped out a plan. And same concept. We were driving around. My brother was in Bonita, Naples, driving around one day, came across Cape Coral, Florida, and we did some research. And I said, this is going to be home. Didn't know anyone. And we started from the ground up, and just started knocking on doors, metaphorically speaking, but just grinding, chamber events, health talks, got involved with the city, educating people on what I do, what makes me different, and then also just educating people on health in general. And when you're passionate about something, people see that and they start to flock to that as well.
Okay. And you've always been a health conscious person. I remember I got high school stories, and I will give one later of how health conscious you are. But
Yeah.
I know you was talking. You had your kids in between, going to school and finishing up. And tell us
Yeah.
about the difficulties of trying to being a parent, having newborn kids, and start business.
Yeah, that was definitely some challenging times. And obviously having little ones and understanding too, postpartum depression is real, for, anyone out there with little ones or potentially going to have little ones, from the mother side of things. But it was definitely challenging times. It was more so of us just kind of having those conversations, understand it was going to be a sacrifice. It was some days, I started class, then I had to go to the cadaver lab or go to, my clinic and do those rounds, and I'm not even getting home. Then it was time to study. I want to get home till 12 o'clock at night. But us having that understanding that, hey, it's a season. There's different seasons. And obviously seasons come and seasons go. And having that kind of that understanding kind of helped us go through it. And then it's kind of like, that's all we've known, just grind and kids. And it also kind of prepared us too when it was time for opening up the business. We've done a lot. We understand how to manage a schedule and just map things out and game plan, and you can push forward. So it kind of prepared us for the business of life and the business aspect, and then also having team and training team and all those different realms.
Okay.
So I know you said you focus on the upper spine area, like near the neck. Is there, I guess, does every chiropractor have a specialty?
Yeah, great question. No, yeah, I wouldn't say. Well, yeah, majority do. They have a focus on
Okay.
what they focus on. So, like for example, we see. You'd be surprised. We see a lot of pregnant moms. Like I have some relationships with OBs out here because I'm certified in the Webster's technique. But at the same time, as a chiropractor that I know is really close, that's her focus is babies, infants, and pelvic floor issues after delivery. So, yeah, we see them. But if I know someone's an expert, and this case is complex, I send them down there. So yeah, majority of chiropractors focus. Some focus on more of nutritional aspects. Some dive more into functional medicine. Some dive more into like the upper cervical realm, where you're taking specific type of X-rays. You're analyzing the X-rays. So yeah, you have those different fields. So that's why I say, some people might go to this office and then go over here. It's totally different because that's just like in the same field in medicine as well. And I have my buddy, he's a podiatrist. I have another one who's a surgeon, but now he focuses on the vascular side of things, which is, veins and everything. And I have another one who is a surgeon, and now he just does more regenerative medicine. He's focusing on like stem cells and prolotherapy, and he doesn't want to cut anyone anymore. So he goes a whole different route. So everyone has their little niche that they kind of focus on.
That's interesting because I didn't know that, because I've been to the chiropractor before and I thought all chiropractors were the same. I go in there, I get my back cracked, things like that, and I'm like, and I thought they were all the same. I didn't know that I didn't know they were more like doctors where they have specialties in certain areas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, just like I co-manage some cases as well. So as a doctor out in Fort Myers, he does a lot of the regenerative medicine, like I was telling you. But he has people who fly in from, I mean, it's insane, like out of the country, Germany, Saudi Arabia, wherever, and they're getting like some stem cells because they tore some ligaments due to a bad, fall or crash. So we take pre and post imaging to be able to set the atlas, which is the top bone in the neck, kind of sits on that second bone. And then once we set everything, then he goes back in and re-injects to help strengthen up those ligaments and those muscles so that everything can kind of mold the way it's supposed to. So, but yeah, every chiropractor, has their own different niche.
Okay.
And it just depends on what people are looking for. Just like some people might want to get, like you said, you go in there, you get adjusted that way type of ordeal. That's not what we do, but I know someone who does that, and that's why I refer out to them too. It's all about relationships, knowing what you're good at, knowing what your focus is, and then putting people where they need to go, or whoever's going to help them get from point A to point B.
Makes sense.
So what is your focus?
You saw what?
I think you focus on the neck, but like tell me some of the therapies you do as far as your main focus.
Yeah, so basically within the neck, it's called orthospinology. That's actually my technique. So you can actually go to a website. It's called orthospinology.org, and you'll see we do instrument-based adjusting based on your anatomy. So we shoot the images, we analyze the images, we get the measurements down, and then based on your measurements, that's how we adjust in certain vectors. So this is where you apply some of the principles, physics, or just like force equals acceleration times mass. We're able to use more acceleration versus more force to deliver the exact same amount of mass. So that's why we have different headpiece angles based on the anatomy of the head. We unlock the segment when we set them up. But yeah, we also do that. We also focus on a lot of neuropathy stuff. So I have another device. It's a German-based device. Same device similar to use for kidney stones, but it's not. It's called soft wave therapy, but it's a tissue regeneration therapy device. So we help a lot of cases where torn ligaments or chronic issues or neuropathy cases or what else? Disc bulge cases, because this application kind of helps locate damaged tissue, helps bring your natural stem cells into that area. We also have cold laser therapy as well. We utilize something called an Erconia laser device. I love that device. It's in a lot of the research studies that they have on PubMed. Same thing with soft wave. They now have it at the Cleveland Clinic, and I think the Mayo Clinic has one now. And eventually, I'm going to be adding some more different things like contrast therapy. This is more like biohacking, cold plunges, sauna, and then also hyperbaric oxygen chamber, because I'm actually in the process of building a wellness center out here.
Nice. So I guess in your field of work, it's something I guess a lot of people wouldn't think about, but networking is very important because you have to be able to network with these other doctors, then also these other chiropractors, so you know who to send your patients to. So in turn, your patients trust you that you're sending them to the right spot, and then also vice versa. When these other chiropractors have patients that need something within your specialty, they can send them to you, therefore bringing you more business.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's what it's about. It's all about building relationships.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, I have great relationships with physical therapists, some other podiatrists, some surgeons. Then you have some, who you don't get along with because they're stuck in their old ways as well. Just like I can dive into the history of how this whole realm operates. But my motto is just educating people on what true health and healing is, and not making, helping people become aware and not be dependent on a pill, a lotion, or a potion at the end of the day. Yes, there's a time and a place when we need, medication or we need surgery. We have some of the best medical schools and surgeons, but at the same time, that's not where health comes from. And then if we can start to change that mantra, you'll be surprised of how we can affect just, the well-being of everyone. Because when you look at the statistics of what we're dealing with as a nation, that's the part that makes me a little bit frustrated. And also just knowing, my parents and where, my father, he dealt with some health issues. He passed in 2021, and I'm just like, man, so that's what kind of gives me my passion too. But then also just building those relationships so we can help that patient make an informed decision about their health.
Okay, so you try to focus more on, instead of putting a Band-Aid on it with a medicine or injection or whatever, you try to focus like what's the deeper root, what can push you to live a healthier lifestyle rather than being dependent on a substance.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's the main thing. I was talking to a buddy. He's a primary doc. He used to work in I don't want to name the hospital, but long story short, I said, man, you should get paid on how many people you don't put on medication. You can keep them off medication. And we were laughing about it, but I said, but think about it. I said, yeah, we might have to prescribe. They might have to prescribe something, right? But at the same time, are you helping them figure out, okay, if I have to prescribe you this, let's say, medication, what is the game plan so we can figure out to get you off of this, right? And that's what I was telling him. I said, that should be your focus, but that's not how the system works. And that's a whole different conversation on a different day. But yeah.
You said a key word earlier. You were talking about like working with chronic issues, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody has like chronic pain, like your process helps them, or do you make them go to a doctor first, or you see the plan that doctor has for them and then work through it? How's that work?
Absolutely. Yeah, our process definitely helps. Majority of the time too, when people, like I just had a gentleman came in to our office last week. He's had 2 back surgeries, had a knee surgery, had a hip surgery. He's strung out for the most part, almost on opioids, and he's looking for other answers. So by the time some people come in, they've been through the ringer a little bit, but then sometimes we're able to stop. Like one lady, last year, her neurosurgeon, they were contemplating on surgery, and she wanted other options. So he knew she was coming to me, kind of co-managing. I was giving him updates, but long story short, we would have saved her from not having to go in a knife, and he was ecstatic about it. Sometimes that doesn't happen because at the end of the day, it's, you go under a knife, they make a lot of money. I'm just being honest with you. But my motto is least invasive to most invasive. That's the way it should be, right? Let's figure out what's the least invasive route. And then if we can't figure out the most least invasive route, then okay, let's look at your other parameters for the most invasive. So if we can avoid medication, avoid medication. You can avoid surgery, avoid surgery. If it's a chronic pain issue, let's dig deep to figure out why it happened. Because majority of the time, chronic pain is something deeper rooted from years ago. Or yes, it can be an acute issue, but majority of the time when we feel something, that doesn't mean it just happened right then and there. That's just letting us know your body is letting you know there's a problem, right? Because I say the body does three things: whispers, talks, and screams at us. And that's kind of how, once it starts screaming at us, did it happen right then and there? Was it a buildup over the years? And now that foundation is not solidified like it used to be. So guess what? Something has to crumble, and that's when the symptomatology starts to happen.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because I have like knee and back issues, and it seemed like when I hit 30, somewhere between 30 and 35 is when it started getting even worse.
Yeah.
But then when I go to the doctor, they're like, well, it's been going on for years on and off. But as soon as I hit that about 30 years old is when it started getting more constant. So that makes perfect sense what you just said.
Yeah, no, for sure. Hey, you come out here, we can talk about some things to help you out, brother.
But I was just going to ask that. Do you treat patients that's not located in Florida?
Yeah, it depends on what program. Like some of our neuropathy program, some of our other programs. Just like I'm getting ready to launch huge weight loss in January, and then I'm going to open up probably 3 different locations. That's my goal. But yeah, we can help people from different areas. Just depends on what it is. Like I have some of my practice members or patients who they're like snowbirds. We have a lot of snowbirds out here in regards to they're 6 months here, 6 months somewhere else, and they come back. So yeah, some of those people we do help. It just all depends on case by case as well.
Well, if you're going to start a weight loss program, you got your first customer right here. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, no, we can talk, brother. We can talk. I'll send you a video of my buddy. He just did with someone not too long ago and kind of helped them out.
Okay.
They just knocked off 40 pounds. Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say chiropractors are amazing because I got an adjustment, and it is crazy how they'll feel down your spine or feel around your neck and hit that perfect spot. Like it's the craziest thing to me.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's so many different layers to that in regards to the neurology and the different receptors that fire off. And yeah, man, like I said, a long time ago, I used to think, oh, chiropractic, but now I'm like, whoa, it's a whole world that I'm like, man, I wish I'd have knew more, or I wish other people knew some of the true meaning behind it and the neurology that's associated with it, let alone just the research and the history from years and years ago. And that's where you can go into the history books and you can start pulling some stuff out. And I was shocked, some of the stuff that I was starting to see because of how the system is kind of all been created. Because a long time ago, medicine in general used to be focused on a holistic realm, but they shut down the schools a long time ago. And that's when they kind of went petroleum based. And that's a whole nother conversation. But I just feel like we should be focusing on how do we keep someone in a healthy state versus when someone's in a sick state, let's just treat the symptoms versus, okay, why are we in this state? If we can, like I said, always go back to why, what's transpired, how can we correct it versus managing symptoms, I think as a whole, we can improve health across the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because even when I go to the doctor, I'm looking for like just a regular doctor. I'm looking for a doctor that's gonna look for the issue instead of just giving me a medicine. Because as soon as you give me a medicine, the first thing I'm doing is obviously looking at the side effects. If it's a side effect I don't like, I'm not taking this medicine. So then my symptoms get worse because I'm not taking the medicine they prescribe because I don't like the side effects. So I think, like you said, looking at the why instead of, hey, let's just fix it now. Looking at the why did this happen and let's work on the root cause. I think I think that definitely helps out in the long run.
Oh yeah, for sure. And and that's what it's about. And that's what we just try to strive to educate people on and kind of go from there. And sometimes I always say this, and I'll say this, is at the end of the day, doesn't matter what room you're in or what titles someone has. you all are the best doctors in the room because you all know your body better than anyone else. And sometimes people who have titles feel like you can't be questioned, or if you question my authority, then there's a problem. But no, I encourage everyone. I encourage my patients as well. Always ask questions. You should be asking your doctors questions, ask me questions when you go for wherever, because you should always be informed. And at the end of the day, you have to make that decision. No one else controls or knows your health better than you do. And that's what I always encourage people to focus on.
Makes sense. You got any more questions to answer?
I got more questions and want to dive into more, but I'm looking at we at 25 minutes, right? And I know if I go down this next route, I'll start it off though. I'll start off. I'm gonna say I know you're more than just a chiropractor. I know you're a businessman. I know you're an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Like what's your next in your life?
Yeah, no, that's just funny you say that. Yeah. Well, right now, like I said, I'm building a wellness center, but not only building a wellness center, I'm building a whole commercial strip. It's about 3 units. I'm going to take 6,000 square feet of it for my office, and then I'm going to be renting out the other 2. From a commercial standpoint, I've had some restaurants reach out, nail salon, ABC store, yoga studio, H&R Block, some other big box office names. So that's my next round. I want to get more into the commercial side of things. And then once we actually broke ground, a few months ago, we should be done in, June of next year. We're going to have appreciate it. We'll have a groundbreaking ceremony here soon, but, learning a lot from permitting because, I oversaw my house project from the ground up and I was going to sell it. And then obviously the market skyrocketed. So it's like, you sell it, what's the point of selling if you don't have anywhere to go? But after I get the commercial and stuff up and then those 2 units rented out, that's in itself. Yeah. I'm thinking about retirement, not even retirement, but just thinking about long term. Because once I have those 2 units rented out within less than 10 years, that's just from not touching that. It's a little over $1 million from that aspect. So my next goal is to get an apartment building and then being able to, just continue to learn. But then also I'm working on a nonprofit as well. I just got it approved. It's called Gifted Hands. So basically where we'll be able to bring in other providers and do certain things to be able to give back to the community and help people and also do some mission trips. And then also just be able to provide health to people who can't afford it or might not be able to afford it, because that's another thing too. When you just look at the way the healthcare system is. So outside of that, I'm just constantly learning. I love business. I love real estate. Real estate is actually a passion of mine. I kind of want to continue to dive in, but outside of that, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I always tell people, always have someone. You should always be pouring into some people on the same level as you, and then you always have a couple people ahead of you that's pouring into you, then a couple people that are trying to get to where you're at and you're pouring into them. Kind of to keep everything level from that standpoint, and then also having mentors. I don't care what anyone says. Some people say, "Oh, I don't have a mentor. I did it all on my own." No, you have to have someone along that journey that holds you accountable or tell you the stuff that you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I've been doing leadership training since 2013. One of my mentors, he does a lot of training for the NASA astronauts, Zoom headquarters, BlackRock out there in New York, AT&T headquarters, and he's the man. And I do that for my team as well, because at the end of the day, when you have a team, if you're in business that way, if you're not pouring into your team, then it doesn't matter, because they say, the saying, they say you could go fast by yourself, but you can go farther as a team. And that's one of my other mottos, is making sure I'm pouring into my team and making sure we're all doing this together and moving forward from that standpoint.
Makes sense.
So before we go, I gotta tell the story.
Oh man!
So I'm just gonna tell the story of how health conscious he is. So senior year, we were on lunch break.
I know what the story is.
We go to McDonald's, right? And so I get my order, and I was like, "Let me get some McDonald's fries, large size with extra fries." So he like, you really gonna eat extra salt on your fries? I'm like, yeah, I want extra salt. So I take like 3 fries out of the container, and he smacked the thing out of my hand. He's like, not while you with me. I can't allow you to kill yourself while you with me. So I'm like, you just smacked these fries on the ground. You got to pay me for these fries. Yeah. But that's how health conscious he was. He was looking out for me even when I wasn't looking out for myself. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. It's funny. I mean, now that I know things even more, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I used to love back in the day that Big Mac. I know the double cheeseburger with the Big Mac sauce. That was my go-to
Yep,
right
it
there.
was.
I used, but no, I mean, that's a whole nother topic we can dive into, man. From a food industry, it's kind of scary when you start to learn stuff. Especially when you're exposed to other countries or you have friends in different countries, and then you start to see some of the different things that are approved in our food over here. That's banned in other countries, and that's something we can literally sit down, over fire or something one day and just talk about. But that's the main thing is food is let food be thy medicine. Hippocrates stated that, but we should be eating to live, not live to eat. At the end of the day, and that's the way I see it. I say think about if you take these couple principles, if you pick up a box and you don't understand what the words are on the back of the box, put it back. That's the way I see it. Or if it didn't come from the ground, or if it's not fresh, or you can leave it in your cabinet for 2-3 years, food wise, and that's what you got to start to think about, right? And that's the way I see it. It's not about diets. I don't care. Diets are meant to be broken. So I tell people you should never be on a diet. It should be a lifestyle, just baby steps. And once you start to instill those baby steps, that momentum starts to build, and then you'll be surprised at how it starts to shift, and you have a whole different lifestyle.
Makes sense.
But yeah, before we go, I gotta ask y'all this now. I mean, this is season 3 here. This is the first time I heard about this. So tell me what inspired this podcast. What was the vision at, and then what's the purpose of it? Because I'm like, man, how come I didn't know about this? Y'all been doing this. I've been listening and following y'all.
So we kind of, because we always just have this random conversations. Like we'll just go off the top of the head and we talk, because I do real estate, and also do real estate. I'm in law enforcement, so I do a lot, and I'm also a financial coach. So we just, and Anson, he does pest control, and he's big in cryptocurrency, stuff like that. So we always just have conversations about either news articles we see or whatever. We, as our group of friends, we just start having random conversations. We're like, we should start a podcast, like, because we talk about a lot. And so that's kind of how it started. We're like, hey, let's throw this on a podcast, and the knowledge we're sharing, let's share it with the world, and let's get people's stories out there, and let's do this. And that's how it started. Like we're right at a year now.
Wow. Yeah. And we always, I call it debating. We always debating on like, I'm gonna say 2020 something, y'all. I'm like, stock market gonna crash. It's gonna be a recession. He was like, I don't think so. Everything's about to start market. And so the housing market, the housing market. I'm like, it's about to crash. And he's like, nah, it's gonna take off. So then we were literally about to buy a house in Charlotte. He was like, man, you should buy the house, even if you can't move to Charlotte, and then sell it. I'm like, nah, I don't think it's a good financial decision. And lo and behold, everything went up. So I was like, hey, I gotta admit to you, I was wrong. So when we're wrong, we admit we're wrong.
I love it. I love it. See it. I would love stuff like that, man. That's the beauty of it. I say this though, is the fact that, you can debate. Everyone has a difference of opinions. Yes. But if you're wrong, you admit it. Because nowadays, if you don't agree with this or you don't agree with that, they act like they can't talk to one another. People get upset with one another. Yes. But I mean, we all old school. That's the way I kind of see it now. It's kind of crazy we're saying that now, but and at the end of the day, we still love one another. We're still brothers at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yep. But I'm also going to say this before we go. My mama she asks about you all the time. And if I don't bring that up on this podcast, she goes like, you should have seen the Bible. You was on there. So she always like, what Omar doing? So.
No, that's awesome, man. That's the thing too. At the end of the day, we all might not talk as much, but I know, who your real brothers are. You don't have to talk to them every single day, but if they pick up the phone, they need something. That's how I am, hey, if I can help out, I can help out. And that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? Yep. So I was excited when you texted me this.
This was definitely a big help. I'm pretty sure we'll have a few comments, and we may have to bring you back on for another episode, because I'm pretty sure we'll have a few comments of people asking questions and stuff like that. So we definitely appreciate you coming on. You dropped a ton of knowledge. Like I said, a lot of stuff I had no idea about, because obviously we don't work in the medicine world. So you was able to kind of shed light on a bunch of stuff that I had no idea about. So we definitely appreciate you for that.
No, appreciate you all. And hey, y'all selling shirts or whatever, send me the link. You know, I want to support it.
Yeah, we got you.
All right,
I'm serious about that weight loss, though. I'm not playing. Like,
seriously, we can talk. We can talk. I'll hook you up. I'll map everything out for you from that standpoint, because I even have the whole FDA app I'm ready to launch as well, and tracks all that stuff, and through the Apple Store. Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay.
All right. And as we always say before we get off of every podcast, we want to thank Omar. And as we always tell y'all, this is more than a podcast. We handing out crowns. And Anson, you know we got to give a crown to.
Oh, we got to give a crown to Omar. And you know we got to get a crown, out, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I get a crown.
All right, man. We appreciate you. And like I said, we definitely going to get you back on for another podcast.
All right, fellas. Y'all be blessed now.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Who the lover, who the hate? Who the realest in my circle? Who the one who be the snakes? Who gon' fold up under pressure? Who gon' understand the stakes? Who gon' wait to get they food to try to take from off my plate? Who the love? Who gon' understand I'm hurt? Who gon' love me unconditionally and try and make it work? Who gon' party once I'm gone and shed a tear once I'm in dirt? I ain't asking for too much, I'm trying to understand my